Hello my lovelies, and welcome to today's video. My name's Alya and I'm so glad you stopped by. So today we're talking about retinopexy, the laser that can fix a minor retinal tear. So if you're interested in the topic, please do stick around to see me create this look and also talk all about this wonderful technology. Very exciting topic. I have to say it's a little bit scary when you have to explain to a patient what's going on, but it's a little bit more fun when I'm talking to you guys, and doing some makeup at the same time definitely takes the edge off. So what is it? It's a strong light, which is what any laser really is, and it's applied around any kind of retinal tear. Now it's got to be a fairly mild tear, otherwise the laser just won't be strong enough to hold it, so there won't be much point to it. So what they're kind of doing is they're sealing the retina by sort of melting or spot welding the healthy tissue around the tear back onto the retina so that it can hopefully not continue to detach, which is, you know, best outcome. Now, the underlying tissue has to then hold, kind of be fused together, and then hopefully nothing further detaches and comes away. Because larger detachments definitely can't be spot welded. They have to be sewn down the old-fashioned surgical way. They use gas bubbles. They've got all kinds of methods these days to get the retina to hold, but it's definitely surgical and it's definitely got a lot more consequence, harder, longer recovery, all those type of things. So we do definitely try to use this retinopexy whenever we can. Now, it's a very low-risk procedure. The highest risk, I'd have to say, is probably to us, to the clinician, because we've had so many people faint at the idea that their back of the eye is about to get sort of effectively burnt, for lack of a better word. And we have definitely had some fainters just sort of freak out and, you know, end up doing the laser anyway, eventually when they come to, but we've definitely had some experiences in the clinic. So what are the consequences other than fainting to this laser? Well, really, there's not a huge deal to it. The highest thing or the worst thing that can happen to you is a little bit of irritation to the eye. I actually have this sinking feeling that it's actually not to do with the lasering itself. I think it's got a lot more to do with the fact that the eye can be open for 5 or more minutes. I mean, the whole thing takes maximum 15, but I've never experienced it taking it more than sort of 5-10 in our clinic. You know, doctor will normally pull out, give the patient a break and go back in if she needs to. But, you know, I think that the discomfort or the pains that some people do report actually come from having the eye open for a really long time. The eye becomes dry, irritated, and starts to hurt. The actual back of the eye is incapable of feeling pain, so which is why a lot of the time these retinal detachments are, or tears, are absolutely asymptomatic in the first place. If the laser was going to hurt, then the tear itself is going to hurt. There's no way you can have one without the other. So because the tear doesn't hurt, I'm going to stick by the fact that the laser also does not hurt. But if you are feeling uncomfortable, or, you know, if patients report discomfort, what we do is we offer them a little bit of lubricant afterwards, and it seems to fix up everything. So just to go with the theory there, there's probably just a lack of moisture on the surface, and that's what's causing all the grief. Now, who does these retinopexies? Is it just any old ophthalmologist, or what's the deal? Now, the reality is any ophthalmologist can go out and buy a laser and do it. I personally would probably reserve these things to someone who practices medical retina regularly or is a retinal specialist. So medical retina just means somebody who regularly deals with retinal issues, things like macular degeneration or diabetes, or, you know, things like that. This is someone who is particularly well versed at locating and very well practiced at sewing up these tears with the laser. So just having the laser there isn't an indication enough, I don't think, especially if it's a clinic that has lots of doctors. I would be asking perhaps reception who does those type of lasers more frequently, and then, you know, use that as my guide. A lot of the time you wouldn't have a doctor do the procedure if they don't know what they're doing. It's the insurance scandal alone would be too much for them. Typically they're only going to touch a machine if they've been well trained on it. But having said that, for example, in our clinic we very much divide who does what. We have a lady who does retinal, and this is something that she, you know, does often and does very well, and very, very sort of You know, she'll never take it on if she thinks it's more of a surgical matter. She won't risk it. You know, she's very, very good like that. Whereas the other doctor in the clinic has access to this machine and sitting right there, but she won't do it. It's not her jam, if you like. It's not something she does at all often or hasn't done for a long time, so she leaves it be. You know, it's just a matter of personal choice. But because you are dealing with very, very sort of fragile retinal tissue, a medical retinal specialist is probably a better way to go. Now, the other thing that can sometimes happen, no matter what doctor does it, no matter how good the laser and the professional is you may still get a retinal tear. Like the laser just might not be strong enough to do the trick. The other thing you might still get is more retinal tearing, so new spots. That's just because the retina is weak in the first place, which is why I got the first tear, so it may keep tearing in other places. These can all lead to then detachments. They may or they may not. It may just mean that you need to go back and get more lasering done, and that might be sufficient, or you know, you might just have to keep chasing it and staying on top of it. That's also an option. And just very, very rarely sometimes you will need surgery anyway. You know, it doesn't happen much, but it definitely can happen. I've seen it a lot in clinic. Now, some things I found really fascinating about all this is I did a bit of a Google search, because as much as my clinic does deal with this quite frequently, I see a lot of patients before, straight after, or even sometimes during the procedure, especially if they're fainted. You know, sometimes they just need their hand held or something like that during the procedure. And then after as well, I see them for their, you know, their post-op checkup. The one thing I didn't ever tell anyone is to avoid having their hair dyed or permed for 10 days after the procedure. And this is something I found on Google. Bless you, Google. I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure if around the world this laser is different. You know, there's different versions of this laser, or maybe we use drops afterwards and other places in the world don't. I'm not sure. An American site suggested no hair dye or perms. I could not find that information on any Australian sites. Not sure what it is. Maybe ammonia is the only thing I can think of can somehow interfere. I really don't know. I can't answer why, but that's something I read and I thought I'll share it with you guys. So yeah, after you've had your procedure, don't go and dye your hair. Strange. But we do definitely recommend sun protection and protection during sport, eye protection during sport. That is a definitely must. The biggest reason for that is that you definitely don't want to risk anything hitting the head or the actual eyeball for a little while after the procedure. As it is, it's already fragile, plus you've just had things welded down. You don't want to go opening up, you know, fresh wounds, basically. You know, if you can definitely avoid sport for a little while, at least a couple of days, that would be amazing. I also tell people no heavy lifting, no bending over for a little while. Having said that, we did have a wrestler, a professional wrestler, in to have some retinal tears repaired. He was very young, in his 20s, and he went on to fight afterwards, even though he sat me down and said, your honest opinion. I said, look, if you were my kid, I'd tell you to not to. But if this is something you're passionate about and you understand the risks that this could keep happening, could keep getting new tears, you know, you understand the risks. It's your choice. Can I go blind? Can I do this? I'm like, look, it's a risk. It's a risk. There's no guarantee one way or another. And that's what it is. He could have had those tears that we repaired because of an injury, or it could have been just, you know, one of those dumb luck type things where he got the tear this time and he just won't next time. There's never any guarantees with these things, especially if they're injury related. You never know how the eye is going to react or heal on its own. So he has been fine for about 1.5 years since. So, you know, there's different situations, different scenarios, different people, different age groups. But we do definitely recommend protecting the eye, because if you already know that there's a weakness there, be smart just to give it that extra bit of safety, just in case, you know. Now, if you've had the procedure, I just mentioned sort of briefly, but if you've had the procedure, there is no guarantee you won't need it again. There's no guarantee that you won't still need surgery, and there's no guarantee that many, many years down the track that weld won't reopen. So what we definitely recommend for people who've had retinopexy is to have just a review every so often with dilation, with dilating drops, just to make sure that everything's going well at the back of the eye, that, you know, everything's that's been fixed up is staying nice and fixed up. You know, there's no new emergencies happening. and just to be a little bit more educated about what to expect, because I think a lot of people just brush off some of the symptoms. It's not that they didn't get them, it's just that they just didn't notice it so much. And the most common one, and I've spoken about this before on the channel, is flashing lights. You just get this sudden jolt or sudden bolt of light somewhere in the periphery. Oftentimes you'll think, oh, what was that? And you forget all about it. It's so fleeting, it's so quick. And a lot of the time, that's not even a retinal detachment. So to run to the ophthalmologist or optometrist straight away just because you've got one flash of light, probably not. But if you got that together with little black dots or little floaties or temporary blur to vision, or it happened more than a few times, that flash of light, or it happens, regularly when you go from light to dark or from dark to light, or if you sort of see the floaters regularly, you need to just keep an eye on these things, so that when you do finally speak to somebody, if it's something that's a regular occurrence for you, and it's got to the point where you do feel concerned and you are speaking to somebody about it, you're going to need to give them that kind of history. It's also really good to know if it's one eye or both, because if it's both eyes, the likelihood of having a tear on each eye at the same time doesn't usually happen. You'd have to be really unlucky. So if you have flashing lights on both eyes simultaneously regularly, you're most likely experiencing migraine or something even more sort of neurological in its nature, whereas just the one-sidedness is often more retinal. And that's something that when caught early enough can definitely be repaired. So what happens to the ones that aren't lucky enough to be picked up on regular examination, the ones that don't accidentally find that they have these tears, or the ones that don't show up to clinic? So a lot of these people can actually walk around for years with retinal tear and never know about it. It happens. It definitely happens. They definitely will go on to have some issues with their retina, and eventually, sooner or later, it'll be picked up, whether it be through retinal detachment or through an inevitable consequential thing that will occur. It's not the end of the world these days to have a retinal detachment, because as long as you can rock up an emergency pretty quickly, a retinal specialist will be able to quickly fix it up for you. It is a difficult thing to go through though. The recovery process alone is quite just disruptive to daily life. That's really all it is. And you will forever have a detached retina or a reattached retina rather than just a pexy repair. The difference is that, once it's actually detached, it's all the more weak reattachment. Whereas with welding, it's just like a piece of metal. It's only weak at that very spot where it's been welded or where it's been torn. It's not a huge area that you're dealing with. Also, you do get vision loss sometimes with retinal detachment. You're not going to get that with a tear, hopefully. Some tears can be quite nasty, but typically you wouldn't. There's all these benefits of catching anything medical early. So I always recommend that if you can, that would be the best way to go. With retinal tears or retinopexy, the worst case scenario I think that I've seen clinically is a little bit of light sensitivity thereafter. And I think that's because the light itself the laser itself is quite bright, and it just really tunes your eye up to a bit of sensitivity to light. It doesn't last forever. It can last a while, but just not forever. And also I think once you're aware of something being wrong with your eye, you do become a little bit more sensitive. I think that's quite normal. It's true for anything, true for dry eye, true for any kind of disease. The more you're aware of your eyes, the more sensitive the eyes are going to be. We've personally, now touch wood, we've personally had a lot of success with our laser. We've got a really, how do I put this? Like, it's not the most fancy laser at all. It's not basic at all. It's expensive as all lasers are, but it's just the run-of-the-mill, everyone's got one type of laser. I sound very spoiled. Australia is a definitely privileged country, and we do have commonplace high-tech things. But as far as our clinic goes, it's just another machine that we have. It's by far not the most expensive. It's not the cheapest. It just is, and it's a fantastic tool. Oh, it's just been such a savior for so many people's conditions on the spot. Like, they've come in for something else, we've done a retinal exam, found the tear, fixed it. Easy, and they never have to go to a hospital, they never have to show up at a different specialist. It's just so quick turnover for them, and they never have to think about it again, except for self-monitoring, of course. All right, my lovelies, I hope today was informative for you. I have got so much to tell you. Honestly, I could go on about eye topics forever. It's in a very I've been working in it for so long. I think I've seen most things, and even the ones I haven't seen, you know, they're just so fascinating to me. So if there's any particular requests, please do leave me a comment below. I'm only too keen to research things or tell you what I know about different eye conditions. It's all great. Please do go over and check out Instagram. There's all fun things happening there. A lot of things happening in my life at the moment, so I'm always trying to share a little bit of that with you guys. You know, if I'm into a brand, or if I'm sharing about a condition, or updates about the channel, or even other things in other aspects of life, please do go over to Instagram for that. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead. Go ahead and press that big red button, turn it grey, and become a part of the creative family. Love to have you here, and that way you will be notified if things going on. So it's really convenient. And I love having you here. Wherever you are around the world, my lovelies, I hope you're having a very safe and very happy time. I recently posted about the world being certifiably mad, and I meant it. I just honestly don't remember a time where it's just like dominoes falling, just event after event, globally, just anyway. It's been tricky time for everyone to deal with all these world's events. So I hope that, you know, you give your kids an extra cuddle tonight, or your loved ones an extra cuddle tonight, and just remember what's amazing about this world, and that is our dear ones, our communities, our creativity, and our uniqueness. You know, keep it in a very, very high and special place. So to bring a bit more light into the world, to balance out all the darkness. And with that thought in mind, I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye.